Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream Park West, and a happy Columbus Day to you. We've got a 10-race card this afternoon. Main track is fast, but look to your right, or your left, maybe, my right, whatever it is. Turf course is firm.
Yes, it is. I know we had turf the last couple of days, but the turf course was good after a little bit of rain earlier this week. But we're back to the firm turf, fast and firm at Gulfstream Park West, and 10 races on the special Columbus Day card. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And well, let's run through the wagering menu this afternoon, and it starts right off in first race with the Rolling Super High Five. Anytime 7 or more runners in the field, we got the Rolling Super High Five. So we got 7 in the opener, and good luck if you play that one.
That's right, and that also kicks off the 50-cent early pick 5. And then, Ron, the Rainbow Six is starting to build. We have a carryover just shy of $20,000. Race number 5 on the 10-race card. We'll start that Rainbow Six today.
Yeah, it's race number 5. I will have a ticket for you, and then we end the day with our final pick 5, in case you'll certainly have a ticket for that one, along with the early pick 5 ticket.
Right.
So let's take a look.
All right, well, as we get kicked off here in the first race, we'll give you a look at my early pick 5 ticket. I did find a single today, Ronnie. It's going to come a little bit later on in race number 4, but as we start things off, I'm going to use the current favorite, very early in the wagering, but I think rightfully so, in Sister Drama, back myself up with a price in Miss Americaine. 2 deep in the second race, that's 2-year-old maiden claimers, 3 deep. So I've got a horse with experience and first-time starters in there. I think you maybe want a little bit of coverage in that race. In the third race, going to be using 3 as well. I think that's kind of an anything can happen race. Lots of questions in there. My single will come in the 4th race with JB Quick, especially with scratch. I think he just might be quicker than these in here, and 2 deep in the 5th race as we cash it out for $18.
Pretty good ticket, $18, very affordable, and we do have a scratch here in this first race. It's 1 mile turf event, claimers, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, non-winners for 2 races in lifetime, and as I mentioned, scratch the 1 card spun, and I started off, I don't know how you did, with Sister Drama.
I did. I used this one on top. I think after her win last time out, which we will show you, this was back on August 12th. It was going a mile on the turf. It took her 5 starts to break her maiden, and she took kind of an aggressive drop last time out. We'll pick it up at the quarter pole. She was the number 8, and she was actually very wide going into the first turn, as a lot of horses wanted the lead. She kind of had her hand forced as another horse made an early move, and then Edgar Zaya sent her out to the front. But what I like about this is, we're just going to play it, is that after she was forced to make that early move, she managed to pull away from the rest of the field. And again, it was a pretty significant drop in class, but she won nicely there.
Yeah, and there's a reasoning. I had the same reasoning for putting this one on top of the ticket. It's trained by Ralph Nix, and it's a daughter of Big Drama running today. I used the 3 in second. I don't know if you used it on, you did. You used it in Fort Moxie. This one is another one that's stepping up to face winners today. Shook off a little bit of trouble at the quarter pole to defeat 12-5 maidens. That was by a measured neck. George Bush, Luca Panici have been riding great on the turf, both here at Gulfstream Park West and across town at Gulfstream Park. So threw that one on the ticket, and I just thought that was a logical one. But the other one you used on your early pick 5 ticket was the 7, Miss Americaine.
Yes, this one actually won last time out. We have a lot of horses in here stepping up to face winners for the first time. And as far as the number 3 Moxie goes, I just don't think she ran against a very tough field last time. And it looked like even prior to that, her race 2 starts back, she should have performed better than she did. I like her certainly as far as my superfecta goes, but Miss Americaine could be a bit of a price in here. Again, winning last time out, and I believe you found a stat on Kathleen OConnell.
Yeah, Kathleen OConnell, maiden winner last out on the turf. She's 9 for 70, 13%, 31% in the money with $1.66 return of investment. It's not really something that she does, you know, over the 5 years she's done it 70 times. I think 9's win is not that bad. More importantly, I like the price of 10 to 1.
Yes, I think this is a really fair price on this horse. And another thing that could be a benefit to her, and we've kind of been looking at this over the past couple days, she trains right here at Gulfstream Park West.
And that horse has a nice work over the track. It was actually a bullet work, albeit of only best of 5 horses at the distance. So certainly anyone that trains at Gulfstream Park West usually runs okay. So she's here, and she's been there for many years, and she knows how to get around this racetrack. Talking about Kathleen OConnell.
Yeah, she does a great job, especially with her younger horses.
So let's go to race 2 this afternoon. 6 furlongs, maiden claimers, 2-year-olds, $12,500. This starts first of 2 pick 4s on the afternoon. And whoa, We're exactly in agreement
That is
up there.
amazing.
Josh's Prism, a son of Hold Me Back, debuting for Armando de la Cerda with 7 local workouts, but a couple of those are bullet workouts. We were just talking about horses training over the surface here. This one has been lighting it up in the morning.
That's really what pushed this one over the edge for me. And if you remember in my pick 5 ticket, I used a firster. This is the firster. I also had horses with experience in the likes of the 2 ABG Guerrero. But as far as Josh's Prism, the work tab really intrigued me. Given those bullets, Armando de la Cerda, we know, does an excellent job. Even though on the bottom side, I would say that the pedigree's largely turf. The dam was actually much better on the turf. She did win sprinting on the dirt. This is her first foal, though. She was a 5-time turf winner. Gets Emisel Jaramillo.
And you mentioned the 2 ABG Guerrero. This one stretching out to 3/4 of a mile. After rallying to finish second, was only beaten the neck at 5.5 furlongs. To me, he's the obvious choice of all the previous starters, without a doubt.
Certainly does have the advantage of that really good race last time out, and many Antonio Sano horses are based here at Gulfstream Park West. This one is based across town at Gulfstream, but has been working very well leading up to that race. And though he's already had 7 starts, I would say last time out showed that he was moving in the right direction. I also used, and so did you, the number 4 Kalama. We're a big fan of Sandra Slivka and the training job that she does. This one's half to a couple of stakes place and graded stakes place horses, so some nice pedigree there.
Yeah, by perspective, by Malibu Moon, so I think that horse can run well in there, but sure looks like Josh's Prism likes the local surroundings. So we'll go to race number 3 this afternoon. It's a 5-furlong turf event. Maiden claim is 3 and up, and they'll run for a $10,000 tag, and we have no scratches or jockey changes in the race. And once again, Acacia has copied me with the top 2, Southern Cal.
Well, I mean, who says you didn't copy me, I guess, right? Well, Southern Cal, though, I think certainly is a logical horse. We'll go back to that last race. In fact, his only race so far. This was back in April, so he hasn't run in about 6 months, but he was the number 1 that day, and we'll let it roll from the quarter pole. He was actually pretty keen along the rail, and if we could just freeze it right there. So here out in the front is the number 4, Tommy's Top Cat, who was 25-1, very easily setting the pace way ahead of the rest of the field. Now behind him, we have this whole big mishmash going on, and the number 1, as you can see, the chicklet right there, he's kind of Southern Cal bottled up in there with no room as we let it roll. He's in the red colors, just waiting and waiting for some room to run, ends up having to go widest of all, again the number 1 in the red colors, under jockey Nikki Figueroa that day, again waiting for room. And I thought he actually ran very well once he finally did get out and get into the clear closing. Just had a very tough trip.
Yeah, and he had to steady a little bit, as you just saw on the screen. Now, the number 3 in here, Walter Jeep, is dropping a notch on the maiden scale today after showing speed and getting caught late in a series of turf sprints across town, including a horse where this ran 7th behind a couple of next out winners, Canta Claro and Smart Return. And another horse was in that race, and that was German Alberto, who was my long shot yesterday and got beat this much.
That was a really tough beat in the nightcap. He ran a huge race yesterday. As far as Walter Jeep goes, he's got a lot of speed and a good post towards the inside today, so I think his speed will be key. It was a good race, but he was the favorite dropping in class last time, and I thought could have run better. But that being said, he could just meet the right field today.
You can meet the right field, and I just like the race he's coming out, as I just mentioned. Now, we have our 3rd and 4th picks flip-flop. I went with the 7, Mr. Bell, and you went with the number 5 horse in here.
This one, Comic Relief, is kind of a little bit, I think it looks a little bit of a wise guy horse. It's my long shot play today. The only turf race was against tougher competition, and it was back in August. So I think second time for the barn, a drop. The dam was a 4-time turf winner.
And that's what Jason and Acacia always tell me. I'm here for comic relief. So.
You do keep us laughing.
Let's go to race number 4 this afternoon, and a couple of scratches in here. It's 6 furlong starter, optional claim at 3 and up, or they could run for that optional claiming price of $10,000. And either everyone doesn't want to run against JB Quick, or I don't know the reason for the scratches, but scratch the one Coxon, and also scratch. We just got the number 4, Bone Town Wild, leaves us with a field of 4.
It does, and JB Quake certainly does look tough in here. We'll show his last race. He was beaten by ExpressBet that day, who ended up getting the win by half a length. He was the number 5 on that afternoon. You can see him in the pink colors and the white blinkers, and he showed a lot of speed, went to the lead. The number 2 to the outside is ExpressBet, who just ended up passing him. What I think is a positive for JB Quick today is, again, he just might be faster than what he faces today, plus he gets Edgar Zayas in the saddle.
And what I liked about him is Ralph Zadie really readied him for this performance with a solid 5-furlong workout right over the track. I like that after that last performance. And you're right, I think this one is the one to beat in this spot, especially with a couple of scratches in there. Coxon was on a tear with 3 or 4 wins. So, and another horse, boy, I didn't know what to do with this horse, and that's the 3, Dr. JDub, who's dropping to the $12,000 level, going back to the main track, hoping both those adjustments help produce the gelding's first victory in 12 races this year.
I know, it's been kind of a tough year for Dr. JDub, who certainly does have some backlash. I really always think of him as a 5-furlong on the turf horse, and unfortunately he hasn't really been getting it done there. The 7-year-old gelding, kind of wonder which direction he is heading, and we'll see if his speed can carry him on the dirt.
And the 6 off duty is dropping back to a logical spot after following that score at the 12-5 level. Comes back, stalks and fades, but that was a hard-knocking group of state-bred allowance runners.
That was a really tough group. Now, his last victory, a couple starts back, was on a sealed sloppy track. He certainly does like a wet track. 3 out of his 6 wins have come there, but he does have some ability, and you're right, he faced a tough field.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will have my Rainbow 6 ticket.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
I'm Javier Castellano.
I am Joel Rosario.
I'm John Velasquez. For the first time ever, the Clásico del Caribe will be at Gulfstream Park. Entertainment, special events, and the best horses from Latin America and the Caribbean. Right here in South Florida.
Right here in South Florida. It's a thriller, it's a popular, it's an international, the Clásico del Caribe. It's coming to Gulfstream Park.
The Clásico del Caribe is coming to Gulfstream Park on December 9th.
I'll be there. Will you?
Welcome back to Gulfstream Park West and Gulfstream West of their Daily Show. What do we call it? We call it the same thing we call it across town?
Gulfstream West today?
Gulfstream West today. See, there you go. This 5th race, 1 mile on the turf, maiden claim is fillies and mares, 3-year-olds, and up $16,000. We do have a scratch we want to let you know about, and that is the number 5. Xanadu Express has been declared at a race 5, the first leg of the Rainbow 6. And let's take a look at my ticket, and you're going to see how deep I went in this race because I couldn't figure it out. 2, 4, 6, and 7 in race number 5, that is. And you see the progression as it goes down. And couldn't find that single. I wanted to find the single today and couldn't do it.
You really like the number 2 today.
Yeah, look at that. I didn't realize that. 2's all the way down. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And the 5th race, how did you see it? I thought it was so wide open.
I did have a tough time with this race. I think we ended up on the same horse. The morning line favorite, I believe, is the 4, Elizabeth's Vow, who's taking such a big drop in class. But off of a layoff in 0 for 13, I was just looking around for something else. I ended up landing on the 7 by Tway May, who's also taking a drop in class in here today. I thought the last race, which was her first time on the turf for a very sharp barn in Monty Thomas, was actually pretty solid. Would have liked to see more, but for that level, I thought it was a really tough race. You had Just a Jill and Truthful Sonnet, who was actually some very nice fillies in there. So getting a class relief today, second time on the turf.
Daughter of High Cotton, I think she's right in that right spot this afternoon, and that was my reasoning for putting the 7 by Tway May on top of my ticket. Now, we mentioned the 4, Elizabeth's Vow, who drops, goes back to the turf for Joe Calabrese. I just didn't. I wanted to see a race. It's right on the drop. It's the one to beat, going back to the turf. I needed to watch one. Added it to the ticket for safety reasons because I was afraid if it can run back to some of those turf races, it wins.
Yes, absolutely. And you're right. I think Joe Ketney's has her spotted well off the layoff. She's been exposed against maiden claiming before, but actually before the break, she was running in special weight company, running against the likes of Eva London last time out, who came back to win again after that with an 84 Beyer speed figure. So very strong races that she's coming out of. Unfortunately, last time in that race, she was beaten by 10 lengths. So she obviously was in over her head. She drops today and has Edgar Zayas in the saddle. That was a big reason I did end up putting her second, because if she does run back to some of the solid races, she should be right there.
And that was my reasoning to add it on the Rainbow Six ticket. Just didn't want to get knocked out with a horse that, if it runs back, as we mentioned a couple of times, should run very well. Now, the number 2, Sierra Love, is stretching out to 8 panels today on the grass after dueling for lead, fading at the furlong marker, finished third that day as the favorite. That was going 5.5 on a sealed sloppy track. This is a daughter of Quinteros, 4 for 10 in the money on the turf. Should be in that first flight playing Catch Me If You Can.
I would think that she'd show a lot of speed, especially stretching out again to the 2 turns. Her last 2-turn race was the end of June, where she ran an okay 5th that day. I think it was just a tougher race, top to bottom in there. She's 0 for 16, so she certainly has burned a bit of money. And you kind of see her more sprinting as opposed to going the 2 turns, but the speed should be key for her.
Yeah, and I think she needs to be up there in the first flight to have a chance to win in this spot. And then we both had some interest in the 6, Carly's Baby. It's a daughter of Pleasantly Perfect by Pleasant Colony, debuting for Fernando Abreu. And I just thought maybe if you watch the tote action on this horse when the Rainbow Six starts, you might add it to your ticket.
And sometimes in a race like this, a first-time starter is just really the way to go. As you said, she's by Pleasantly Perfect, and she is out of a mare that did win on the grass.
Well, let's go to race number 6 this afternoon. 6 1/2 furlongs, claimers, fillies and mares. 3-year-olds end up with non-winners of 3 races in life or race since April 18th, or 3-year-olds. So we got triple conditions in here. Now you got to find out which horse fits those conditions perfectly. And while you're looking at it, let's look at Acacia's late pick 5 ticket.
Well, we had our exact backwards, and I actually used both those horses. I think I have the best speed in here in the 6 Indian Chaser and the best closer in Millbrae, who's been in excellent form lately. Race number 7, I'm going to use 3 horses. I'm going to go for the spread in race number 8. I think there's some opportunity for prices. I like Case Dismiss, who's actually, I believe, 8 to 1 on the morning line. Race number 9, Patens Image should be really tough, but I think there's some really nice fillies and mares in this race. It's a really fun 9th race, I think. And I did single, trying to keep things affordable. I agree with you, maybe using some coverage, but I'm just going to use Ralph Nix on the drop from special weight to claiming. And Are You Talking to Me?
Yeah, it's probably the logical choice in the final race of the afternoon. And race number 9, Patens Image, I added that to my Rainbow Six ticket because Acacia sold me on it this morning when we were talking about it. Had it a little further down on the ticket, but added it to my Rainbow Six ticket. Now let's start it off. As you mentioned, we got our 2 horses here that we picked FlipFlop. Millbrae is where we'll start, and this one is the winner of 3 of our last 4 races across town at Gulfstream Park, stretching out to 6 1/2 furlongs. After taking, I thought, the overland route when rallying to defeat this caliber competition, going 3/4. What I'm trying to say, I thought it was a really nice performance last time.
It was, and as I said, I mean, she's won 3 out of her last 4 races, and the one that she didn't win was on her track labeled good that day, and she was only beaten by half a length to be 3rd. So she's been in great form lately for trainer Aubrey Mirage, who had a big win yesterday with the drop-down horse Ender's Cat. Now, she is over 3 over this Gulfstream Park West main course, but again, her consistency should really be key, and she is, I think, the best closer. I did just go with another drop-down horse in here, the 6 Indian Chaser. First off the claim for Rashawn Creaky, Frank Calabrese, the owner. They had a win together yesterday. In fact, the Calabrese contingency was very well represented with a couple wins on the card. I think if she gets out to the front and is able to secure the lead, that's where she wants to be.
Yeah, we were looking at the standings, and he moved to the forefront. Talking about Frank Calabrese in the owner's standings, he's got 3. A lot of guys with 2, but he's got 3, so that was a good day yesterday. And you cannot leave either one of these 2 horses off the ticket. You know, Tyler Gaffleone's going to ride, handling that combination drop-down surface switch. The other horse that we both had some interest was the 3 Liberty Road, who was given some time off after hitting the board in one of 2 sprints against Similar. That was back in July and August. It's Marty Wolfson. Amici Jaramillo atop this quality road mare. This one scares me a little bit.
Me too. And if you look at kind of what I was saying about this race, I had Speed and Indian Chaser and the closer in Millbrae. Liberty Road's kind of that handy tactical horse that can just be right there and maybe pick up the pieces if there's any sort of pace duel or just be in that nice stalking spot.
Well, that's where you have to make the decision. Do you add another horse when you put your pick 5 ticket together? Now let's go to race number 7 this afternoon, 7 1/2 furlongs. These are claimers. They're fillies and mares. They're non-winners of 3 in life or 3-year-olds. They run for $8,000. Scratch the main track only horse in here. That's the 10, Miss Mezzarate. And this kicks off our final pick 4 of the afternoon. Now you have the number 3.
We're all over the place in here.
I'm looking for the 3. I don't see it on my ticket anywhere.
We've been agreeing all morning, and now we're all over the place in the 7th race. So that makes it a little bit more fun to talk about. I went with the 3, Little Shade, who's she's dropping down. She does get Edgar Zayas in the saddle, and she was actually very good when she was first claimed by Joe Catanese, and he tried stepping her up in class. I think the drop down here is really going to be key, and this is just where she belongs.
Well, Joe Catanese got to drop down a little earlier, so watch how that one runs, and then you hear it. I'm going to have to go back and research this here, but I did use the horse that you have in second on top of my ticket, and that's Evil Twin, is dropping a notch on the claiming scale this afternoon after returning from a 2-month layup to finish 4th. Was the favorite that day. It was a 10-condition claimer at the distance. The trainer is Angel Rodriguez. Want to show you a stat. Second start off the layup and all claiming levels on the turf. He's 3 for 18, 17%, 33% in the money. He's got a positive return on investment. When you think of Angel Rodriguez, you don't think of too much of turf racing. I thought that was a pretty solid stat.
That certainly is. It's a good stat to look at. Now, this filly, she has burned quite a bit of money in her last few starts. She was the favorite first off the claim last time, and she ran a solid race. I would have liked to see a little bit more, which was the reason I didn't end up putting her on top. But the number 4, Leopard's Hill Road, really intrigued me, and I see intrigued you as well. This one's had a couple of races on the turf, no wins, but actually 3 of her siblings did win on the turf. She's by Awesome, of course, and gets Tyler Gaffleone up.
Can I tell you about the 8, Brianna's Bucket?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Please do.
This is a speedy, consistent daughter of St. Adon, hoping to bounce back from an approved post this afternoon after failing to show her usual early interest when she broke from post 12 last time out. Eddie Broom, Sebastian Saez. I think this one might be a speed play. Just didn't have a chance to get going last time out.
No, absolutely was compromised and did have to actually steady as well. Plus, I think that was a really tough for level race.
So we'll see how this plays out. As you can see, wide open affair, at least as far as we are concerned, in race number 7. Now, the 8th race this afternoon is a 6.5 furlong sprint. It's claimers, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, non-winners of 2 in life or 3-year-olds. We do have a scratch in here of the number 5, Our Way to Escape. And this is the horse that you told me about this morning, 8-1 on the line.
Yeah, I like this filly a lot. She's turning back in distance, and I much prefer her sprinting versus going the mile that she went last time. And I also thought it was just a really big, tough race that she was running against for the level. Now, she is technically taking a step up in class to the 12.5 level, but more than anything, I think it's the turn back in distance. She won her non-winners of 2 condition, 2 starts back by open lengths, going 6 furlongs across town at Gulfstream, and I think the turn back to 6.5 should be perfect for her today. Gets in light with Abby Medina.
Abby Medina in the saddle this afternoon, so we'll see how Case. I love the price. That's
too.
what you're looking for. That's great. So you get something like that. Now, the one I believe is going to be the favorite, actually is the morning line favorite, is the 7 Fury, who changed barns, went to the Leo Gabriel Jr. barn after that claim, stretches out to 6.5 furlongs, dueled for the lead and finished second as the favorite behind a 6th race participant called Millbrae going 3/4 of a mile. So I wrote in my analysis, very simple, use that race as a handicapping guide before you plunk your money down on the number 7 Fiore.
You have some homework to do.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree. She's a big player in here. I used her second. I just wasn't sure if at such a short price, I completely trusted her with how she was well beaten. I know Millbrae's been in very good form, but she was bet down to 60 cents to the dollar last time, and I thought really on paper should have won that race. So we'll see if she can get back to her winning ways.
Now, the number 2 Brig is debuted locally after shipping from California into the the Peter Walder barn, and finishing third, it was a $10,000 two-lifetime claimer that was moved from the turf to 7 furlongs in the main track. You don't usually see horses shipping from California to come and run in South Florida.
Yes, and it is pretty curious, and they were actually trying to start her on the turf last time. That race was taken off the turf, as you mentioned, and she was bet down because obviously she's a dirt horse, and it looked like she would benefit from the race being moved off the turf. They keep her on the dirt. They don't try to get her back on the grass this time. I think that's a positive. Another positive is that Tyler Gaffleone stays aboard. Just kind of wondering what we'll see from her next, as she hasn't won a race since November of 2016.
2016. And Longo Lindo, if you like Fiore, I think you're sort of going to have this one somewhere on your ticket. Hoping to turn the tables on that one. Made a bid, flattened out when finishing third behind her. But that was when they hooked up back on September 2nd. So if you like one, I think this one, if you don't like it on top, certainly to be on the exacta or trifecta ticket.
Certainly.
Our ninth race this afternoon, 1 mile and 1/16 on the turf. It's allowance optional claimer. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. They could run for that optional claiming price of $25,000. And here's where Acacia talked me into using Patens Image on my ticket.
You didn't use her at all?
I did not use her at all on the ticket. I went back and I said, I got to go back because I got hung up. My best bet, who I'll talk about in a moment, is on top. That's the number 8. And that's sort of where I went. I said, well, nobody can beat my best bet. So.
Okay, fair enough. I understand. I understand. Nobody's beating the best bet. Well, let's go back and watch the replay for Patens Image. I just think this is she's such a tough 5-year-old mare. So here she is on August 6th. She's the number 5. She was closing very wide as we let it roll from the quarter pole. Red blinkers, the blue silks. Widest of all, in fact, in this race, and she ended up being beaten by only a length. This was her first start in the barn of Luis Ramirez. She'll keep Jorge Ruiz up. I think he usually rides her, and he rides her very, very well, as we just freeze right there. Again, here's Patens Image closing wide. This is the horse that ended up winning that race in Grand Cherry, who she couldn't outdo. Kind of got the jump on her as we just let it go down to the wire. But she's been so consistent, Ron. And if you look back to the stakes competition in the Ginger Punch 2 starts back, she was only beaten 2 lengths by Something Else, who's a very nice horse.
And Grand Cherry was on a bit of a tear itself. So, you know, what I did is when we talked about this morning, went back, and as you saw my Rainbow 6 ticket, you don't see it in my selections, but I saved myself by putting it on the Rainbow 6
That's the way to do it.
Well, let me tell you about the 8 Graceful Heart. Is dropping into this 25 optional claimer, stretching out to 1 mile and a 16th, rallying to finish 4th in the 7.5 furlong, $100,000 Miss Gracie, which was her first race since early June. I thought it was a top-notch performance. I love the connections. Marty Wolfson is the trainer. I want to show you stat. It's sort of a cautionary stat, but I was just so enamored by how this horse ran that I put it on top of my ticket and made my best bet. He's second start off the layoff in turf routes. He's 5 for 45, 6, I believe, 11%, 37% in the money. With only that $1.66 ROI, I don't care. This is my best bet today. Graceful Heart off that performance.
Well, I agree with you. I thought it was a really big performance from her last time in the Miss Gracie. That was not only the first race off the layoff, but it was her first race in South Florida after shipping in from Woodbine and making her first start for Marty Wolfson after several races for Mark Casse. So I think that she spotted well. I certainly like her in here. She was a big price last time and ran a very good 4th. I also used the 7 Artemisa, who I think has just been in really good form. Now, her biggest thing is that she's going to be closing from off the pace as well, as is Patens Image, as is Graceful Heart. So we'll kind of see as they all come running down towards the wire at the end.
Yeah, again, you could just see Burrows' selections here. Apparently, I saw this race a totally different way. A Fashionable Wild in second, stretching out that additional 16th of a mile today. Surrendered a late lead, beaten ahead against Semler. Late lead. Maybe that's the key. This one gets to the front and doesn't look back.
That certainly could be it. And I used Crazy Kathy in 4th. You had her in 3rd. I just think that she's been in respectable form since the layoff and since moving to the barn at Day Fox.
Are you talking to me? That's your selection in the last race, your single. And this one, race number 10 today on Columbus Day. 1 mile on the turf. Maiden claim is 3 and up. The $30,000 down to $20,000. Scratch the 3. Scratch the number 4 in here. And are you talking to me? you're single in the Rainbow Six.
Yes, and I am talking to you. We'll tell you why we like Are You Talking to Me. We're going to show this last race. I'm not going to show all of it or the stretch like we normally do. This is on August 20th, and I'm going to try to highlight as they're coming around the turn. So here's the number 5, Are You Talking to Me, as we pick it up, going around the far turn. This horse tries to move up the rails you see now. Keep your eyes on the number 5, and right there, if we freeze, you can see just had momentum totally cut off, had to steady back out of the action when trying to go up the rail as we let it roll again. Had to steady there, and then again just had to kind of wait and never really was able to get involved in the race as much as I think he would have liked to. Now he does get a drop in class in here today. Edgar Zayas tries to get him involved now going to the outside. There's just a wall of horses, absolutely nowhere to go. If we freeze right there again, oh, well that's it. We finished the race, so that's what I wanted to show. He's going right there into just this giant lump of horses.
They caught us watching that race over there. Let me play devil's advocate. Let's give you a stat on Ralph Nix, dropping from maiden special weight to maiden claiming on the turf. He's 4 for 36, only 11%, 39% in the money, $1.57 return of investment. And you don't need to tell you guys how good of a trainer Ralph Nix is. So take this stat with a grain of salt.
Absolutely, and I know that perhaps on the turf is not necessarily one of the top moves for the barn, and this horse has been exposed already against Maiden Claiming Company. I just think he meets the right field today.
Oh yeah, and I got it on top. I just wanted to show you that stat. I used Kingdom Kept in second, and the 2-horse Arpanella we both used.
Arpanella and Kingdom Kept certainly do look to be speed plays in here. I preferred Arpanella. She's kind of been really good at picking up those checks with 13 starts, 7 seconds and 2/3.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
We did the 10 races, and we'll be joined in a couple of moments right here at Gulfstream Park West by our buddy Jason Blewett, and it should be a fun afternoon. Main track is fast, turf course, burn.
Yeah, it should be fun. Thanks for joining us.